Good now, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Ladies and gentlemen, monsters and machines, people and creatures of all ages, it's your place for helpful Web3 news, commentary, and answers, of course, to your crypto questions. What is cryptocurrency? What is blockchain? Why does it matter? Is this stuff actually for me? All those questions and more right here on the morning show. My name is Evan. I work here. I've been investing in crypto since 2017 and working in this space since 2021. And I'm glad to help you make sense of it all because there's lots of scams, there's lots of schemes, there's lots of jargon, lots of stuff that makes it seem like it's only for techies and mega rich investors. But I'm here to tell you that is not the case, that most crypto is going to have little to do with currency. The way your cell phone has little to do with phone calls, but you use it almost every day to make your life better. That's what we're talking about here. We want to help you understand it and get involved in a way that makes sense for you if you're interested without having to spend any money, without having to risk your time or your data, without putting yourself at risk for any kind of unnecessary harm, because there are lots of ways to do that. And one of the best is to engage with us, to come hang out at the Rise Up Morning Show. Speaking of the show, we're live Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. And you can connect with us in the Discord community. It's totally free to join. It's where the show lives 24/7. We've also got a newsletter. We've got a YouTube channel. We do live courses and coaching also that you can wrap your mind around this. We can learn to leverage this technology to tell a better story that actually matters for everyday people like us. And we say, rise up to write a better future. Let me know who you are, where you're joining from, and what kind of crypto questions you have, and we'll get right into it. I'm going to be joined shortly by my co-host and colleague, Mr. Alex Popovich, one of my good friends and the trusted voices in our space. Because when you're learning about crypto, Alex often says, it can be like drinking from a fire hose. You don't even know what questions to ask, where to start. And so, come hang out with us. Good morning, Crypto Angel. Angel is one of our good friends. She'll help you out in the chat too. She's right there with us in the Discord community. Lady Money, I see that you're here. Welcome. Thanks so much for hanging out. If you've got a crypto question, if you're trying to make sense about this Bitcoin stuff, or you're wondering is now a good time to buy, this is a great place for you to be because we can help you get up to speed. You won't have to spend any money to start learning about what this stuff is and why it matters. We're glad you're here. Let me know where you're tuning in from, especially if it's your first time joining. And do me a favor and gently place your finger on my face if you've got your thumbs at the ready. Let the algorithm know that we're live and that this is helpful content. Because my goodness, on TikTok especially, there is so much get-rich-quick, scammy crypto content that is mostly not helpful and is mostly going to separate people from their hard-earned money. We don't want that. We're trying to tell a better story, and it's up to all of us. And that's the fastest, easiest, freest thing you can do is leave us a quick comment or tap the screen. You certainly don't have to send a gift because it's very kind. Rick, thank you very much. Because mostly it helps TikTok, but it does help the algorithm. So if you got some pennies at your disposal and you want to send a flower, that helps too. And we really appreciate it. Bitcoin Nashville is coming up. A lot of our friends are going to be there. Rick is going to be there. Rick, I'm working on it. Michael still hasn't heard back from Bitcoin Media about your past, but I know that he's on it. Michael is a super diligent dude, and I'm excited for you to be able to go. Let me know if you're going to go to that. And also, let me issue a challenge to you while we're waiting for Alex to get here, because Alex was telling me this weekend, for all the time we spend trying to break down cryptocurrency, my gosh, we have a long way to go. I want to issue a challenge to you and to anybody watching. We're going to make a video about this later. Can you explain cryptocurrency so that it doesn't sound like a scam without talking about money? Because, currency is a very notorious use case of crypto, but it's not the only use case. And in fact, most of what blockchain, the technology that makes crypto possible, will be used for in the future is just a better way to verify information, especially online, but increasingly offline too, so that all of us can have the freedoms we're entitled to prove what is ours and experience the full richness of life. Now that doesn't do much to explain the technical details, but that's my challenge is, can you explain those technical details? I want to hear the best explanations. And if you want to get in touch with some of the best explanations, you're in the right place. My teacher, Chris Dixon, I think is the best at it. But I think there are also lots of people I have never heard of who are good at it too. Good morning, EQ Trades. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. Good morning, Tori. It's great to see you. Uber Eats, you ask, what does one do, and maybe you mean me, to make money in crypto? There are lots of things you can do. And most of them don't have to do with investing. Of course, you could be a cryptocurrency investor or trader. It is probably, like money, the most notorious example of what people do here. But just like any industry, there are lots of ways. You could be somebody like us who covers crypto in the media. You could be somebody who works to build protocols, apps, and infrastructure that will scale blockchain to help it achieve the functionality that it envisions it'll have, that people like me envision it'll have. You can work for a company like Uniswap, like Coinbase. You could work for a startup. And you don't just have to be a coder or a developer. These people need communications professionals. They need folks to help them with social media. They need lawyers, legal representation. They also need people to just, mop the floors kind of deal. If you're interested, you can contribute to a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, which is like a group of friends who share a bank account to accomplish some shared common purpose. For example, the Verbs DAO that we've started to build a friendship with offers grants whose funding is generated by the purchase of verbs, which are NFTs, and also the verbs token, so that individuals can do different things like post on social media. Tori's got a grant to post for them on social media. Our friend Beans, who's in the Discord, has a grant from them to help clean up nature in his local community, like remove trash from wild areas. You can make money in crypto the same way you'd make money in almost any industry. And if you're looking for a job in crypto, blockchain, what we might call Web3, the companies that are building the foundation of the future internet, then I would just suggest you do a quick search for Web3 jobs. There are a couple of job boards we could direct you to if it's something that you're interested in. And I'd be glad to post those in the Discord. Let me open it up. And let me say again, the other advantage to joining the Discord server is if you have a question and the show's not on, you can jump in there and ask it. It's totally free to come hang out in the general chat. And the show lives there 24/7, so if you're not a morning person or you can't stream a show 4 days a week, then that's the place for you. Let me say too, to everybody who does tune in every day, my gosh, what an honor it is to have you here with us. The most valuable investment that you make every day, every moment, is what you pay attention to. And trust is the foundation of attention. So that you guys trust us to share your attention, to share your time here. Alex and I were talking about it last night. It's just such an honor, and it kind of leaves me at a loss for words, which is wild. So let me see. Web3 job boards. Uber Eats guy, let me know if that answers your question. And let me know if you have a more specific question about money in crypto. If you were talking about me, what do we do? Now, you typed the same question again. Did you hear my previous answer? Let me know. Alex and I have made money in crypto a variety of ways. We work with a team called Faceless Labs that got started in 2021 when Mac Lorden said, hey, guys, I think I want to launch an NFT collection, but not like a lot of these other people have been doing it. And what would it look like to make an NFT that was actually valuable for people? Oh, you took a bathroom break. Okay, well, pardon me, everybody. I'm going to answer Uber Eats' question again. You can do lots of things to make money in crypto the way you make money in any industry. Crypto needs all kinds of professional roles: marketers, legal people, people to mop the floors and help keep the lights on. People like Uniswap, people like Coinbase hire folks like that all the time. You can build things, whether you're building them for a company like that or just building them as a hobbyist like Machiste, products that people will actually start to use. You might get your product acquired. A company might buy it. But if you're not a technical person, you can do lots of different things. And the example I used was Verbs DAO. Verbs DAO is a group of people who share a bank account. The funding for their bank account is generated through the sale of verbs, which are NFTs, that entitle you to a voting role, shares of votes in the DAO, and also proceeds from the verbs token. And the kind of people who purchase these things are people who believe in the collective ability for blockchain folks to do more good together. They want to pool their funds, their time, their resources to make a change along the lines of the Verb's mission, to bring people together online and offline. And they have a job board, they have a grants board, opportunities for people to either respond to calls where funding is available or suggest an opportunity where funding might help. Doing things like managing their social media like Tori, cleaning up their local communities like our friend Beans. And generally speaking, if you want to find a job in crypto, there are a lot of good job boards. If it would be helpful to you to see one, I can put it in the Discord. That was my short-term answer. Alex and I make money by doing a variety of things. Like I mentioned, Faceless Labs, we wanted to tell a better story. The mission of Faceless Labs was to lead the financial revolution and empower the faceless many, the everyday people like us who come here to learn about blockchain because they believe in its potential to give them a tool that will help them shape a better future. We started with building a community around an NFT collection called the Faceless Many that was sort of a call to tell that story. And we continued with consulting. We did a couple of different gigs for a couple of different people. Some of them were Web 2 folks, meaning people who were not aware of or certain about how to use cryptocurrency and wanted our advice. Blockchain wanted our advice. And then also some people who already got it and wanted to build solutions metaverse experiences, if you can call them that, different types of tokens, collections, who just wanted to understand better what was going on here. And then recently, we've really gone whole hog on the Rise Up Morning Show. We are media creators. I'm a first career actor and storyteller. And all of us like to make short form video. We're educators at different levels of experience. And so we've really started to lean into this idea of building the best Web3 community, not just on TikTok, but anywhere, that specializes in helping everyday people understand what this is and why this matters. And that's why I started the show with that challenge of can you explain blockchain without talking about money, or so that everyday people understand it? I do this every day all the time, and I have a long way to go. And in terms of how we make our money doing that, we are working hard at securing consistent funding through sponsorship, which is a worthy challenge. And also, we offer some of our services for people to purchase. There's just no world where Alex and I can reach all the people we need to reach if we're not spending our time doing this, if we don't have resources to do it. So we give as much of it away as we can for free and have worked to build an infrastructure that allows us to do that. We come on the show 4 days a week. We got the uploads to YouTube. We do the newsletter. We host the Discord, the general chat. But also, you can take a live class with us because people ask, can you teach us this thing, this thing, this thing? There are a couple of common things that, howdy, thank you very much, that people really want to learn with somebody next to them that can kind of hold their hand. So we just started offering live classes in a group setting. We sell recordings of those classes with transcripts and notes so that people can play along because, maybe they want to learn that topic, but they don't have $20 to spend on a live class. So they get their recording for $5 or $10. And we also do private coaching, one-on-one. The reality is, if Alex and I did private coaching all the time, we just wouldn't be able to scale to reach as many people. You know what I mean? And so that's a little more expensive because, one, it helps us spread what we're doing for free. But two, it allows us to give really focused, personalized attention to somebody who just, you want to set up your cold wallet, but you don't want to do it with a bunch of people watching. And you want somebody to just be there to make sure you're not going to screw it up. This stuff is very intimidating. I hope that answers your question. And I hope that over time, like I say, we can scale that so that we can spend more and more time on things that will reach more and more people. We got some exciting kind of partnerships and opportunities coming up. We're going to have Jesse Pollock on the show sometime soon. We teased that last week. Haven't settled on the exact date and time yet, but that's going to be cool. Employee number 1 at Base. Hope to build a deeper relationship with Coinbase. And all kinds of people. We want to have Rocket Man from Verbs on. We want to have some folks from Kraken on, from Consensus, some of your favorite blockchain projects, so you can get a chance to ask them questions and hear them break down what they're doing. But more than anything, it's very clear that Alex and I, we need to spend more time talking to the people who don't understand yet. I think we have a lot of jargon and inside baseball on our show, we were saying. And we love talking to everybody who kind of understands, who's here already, but we want to do more to reach the people who are going to hear about this stuff for the first time from somebody unsavory. Speaking of somebody unsavory, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing, brother?
What's up, dude?
Oh, man, just telling everybody about everything.
Just holding down the fort while I slept in a
Yeah,
little bit too long on accident.
don't
Sorry.
fret about it, man. I wasn't going to out you. Don't fret, don't sweat.
I'll out
Um,
myself, don't worry.
we got some good questions in the chat, and I was kind of waiting for you because I was talking about our discussion this weekend about the lengths we have yet to go to be able to masterfully explain this stuff so that anybody can understand it. And Tori immediately fired back with it. I said, can you, for example, I would challenge you, can you explain crypto without talking about money? And Tori fired back. She said, can you explain crypto without talking about money? So I'm
Yep.
going to sip my coffee, and I think that might be a good place for us to kind of start. So while you catch up to your coffee, I do have one or two easier questions. I just wanted you to stew on that. I'm going to throw you right into it.
Perfect.
Uh, it, Two quick funny comments I want to highlight. Uber Eats guy said, I accidentally wrote my seed phrase on the back of a pizza box and later misplaced the box. So keep your eyes peeled for a seed phrase on a pizza box, folks. And we also had a question, what does consensus do these days beyond MetaMask? They are... Oh, hey. You riled up the dogs, man. I'm not that upset about it. Consensus does a lot right now. They like with projects like MetaMask, they're building infrastructure that can allow you to access the web and scaling it. But they also they tell a better story about Web3. They fund media. They are currently in the middle of a huge lawsuit. Although I think all of the lawsuit has been dismissed. They were bringing a lawsuit against the SEC because the SEC wants to legislate MetaMask. Their argument is essentially that MetaMask, by allowing you to access blockchain services, access the infrastructure to buy, sell, transfer, hold assets, is violating securities laws. But the consensus argument is that if you're going to go after MetaMask, you might as well go after Google Chrome. You might as well go after Mozilla Firefox. You might as well shut down the whole entire internet if what you're trying to control is someone's ability to access a service that we do not directly provide.
What a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument, and there are lots of really great recorded talks, people writing Twitter threads, blogs, lawyers, legal professionals. The Consensus legal team has gone on the record talking about what this lawsuit is and why it lacks any substance and why they're frankly thrilled to go toe to toe with the SEC. So among other things, I think that's one of the most important things Consensus is doing for our space. They also host a banging conference.
Dude,
Yeah.
that argument is so stupid. I hope that is one that they continue because I would love to see that one go to some sort of a trial head with, especially with the way that the SEC has now been kneecapped and they don't get to enforce their own interpretations without,
Yeah, and what's really interesting is people want to know, like, is crypto going to end up in the Supreme Court? Right now, the kind of legal landscape is we've got several big lawsuits happening. And several of them have gone to different, the way courts work is, there's different circuits of courts in the United States for anybody who's unaware. If one judge in one area, if I want to sue Alex, we're going to litigate in Memphis or in Savannah, and we might be under the same like umbrella, the regional circuit court. But in the case of like Coinbase or in the case of Consensus, the SEC tries to bring a lot of lawsuits in New York, but Consensus has just legislated against them as a plaintiff in Texas. So the thing for crypto ending up in the Supreme Court is it's going to take multiple judges in multiple districts and circuits having differences of opinion about rulings in similar cases. If this judge says yes and this judge says no, this judge says Consensus, this judge says the SEC, that's the kind of thing that's going to escalate the case higher, and which will eventually allow it to end up in a Supreme Court. But it's also very possible that some of these issues we have seen already have been decided in favor of crypto by courts around the country. But there is sort of a notable rift happening, and there's a lot of momentum coming up. So stay tuned on it. If you're interested in that, I can put some resources in the Discord because there really are great conversations happening from excellent. You wouldn't think legal conversation is fascinating, but frankly, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
No, yeah. Evan's extremely right. There's a whole lot of stuff that needs to happen before something goes to the Supreme Court. I think actually too, there's a certain requirement for.
Funny, I was trying to give you guys shit in the comment section. I was like snooze fest law talk. How you guys doing? Sorry, I'm interrupting you, Alex, mid riff.
We need your chin makes the law talk more palatable. So, but there's there's requirements for how much appeal or how many times you need to have appeal from how many different judges and how long things have to be under appeal. You don't just get to be like, hey, I'm done with local municipal court here. Let's next step Supreme Court. You have to go through state Supreme Courts first. There's like all sorts of official petitions that have to be filed, and then even then, when you get to the point where you're like, okay, now we are legitimately like to the Supreme Court, then you have to like file, and then they have to get to you.
And they might decide not to take your case. How many is it that the Supreme Court gets way more cases in a year than they ever take?
They get thousands, and they end up trying a couple dozen. So like, they don't write very many opinions. They're very in their defense. In their defense, the Supreme Court is really busy taking expensive vacations to private islands and riding on yachts and being on vacation.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough world out there to be a Supreme Court justice.
I'm trying to figure out how I can make sure that Tori has access to pin comments.
And you get to wear pajamas to work. Don't forget that.
And you get to wear pajamas to work.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what it's about.
If I was a Supreme Court justice, I would be wearing the gown, and then I would also bring back the silly, ridiculous hat from like English courts in like Victorian time.
Oh, hell yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. And they'd be like, why do you have that hat? I'm like, because I shaved my head because of the lice. Obviously, guys. Yeah. Powdered wigs.
Where's my powder?
Yeah. And then you have like one of those cute little like things. Yeah, exactly. The whole point.
Yeah, absolutely.
In answer to
sorry, guys, I'm here to really add a lot of value to this conversation.
That's okay. I hijacked your whole life to do nothing but fix my car without a shirt. So here we go.
That is true. I can confirm that I did see that.
Yeah, I remember I saw you come in, Alex, and be like, what's happening here?
It's like, what on earth?
What's going on here?
Tori asked, how far are we from adoption? And I will say that after this weekend, my answer has changed. Really, really, really far. Really far. And this is all like anecdotal, but I'm excited to in a little bit get to some of the notes that I wrote down because I think that it's pretty surprising. And we all collectively, like everyone who cares about Web3 and wants to see adoption, can probably learn something from this. So I don't know where we're going first, Evan, or what you've got on your.
Well, I'd love to challenge Will now that he's here too. I think it would be fun to honor Tori's question and challenge you both along the lines of our conversation this weekend. Alex called me and he was talking about a conversation he had where he explained crypto to people at the rescue. And I'd love for you to tell that story by way of introduction. But the challenge is basically, can each of us go around and explain this thing without using jargon, buzzwords, or if possible, without talking about money? I don't know if you want to refine the challenge, Alex, if those rules are too restrictive, but I think it's a good challenge. I think all of us do it well, but as Alex said, I think we still have room to grow.
Yes. Basically, we have, so I've mentioned the CrowdStake thing a little bit. And so I decided, because we had a little bit of a lull, it was super hot, so we were all taking a break, and there were no adopters at the rescue. So I was like, all right, let's take a crack at explaining this new method of donations to the volunteers at the rescue, because they are the people who are going to have to at some point let someone know that this is an option. even not even to explain it, but just even to say like we do also accept cryptocurrency donations, for example. So I was just like, and for context, all three of these people are my friends, so like I probably would not have started this the same way, but I will say that if you had asked me before this conversation, do I think that I could from scratch without talking about not even without talking about money, but just without using any technical language, could I explain any of this? I would have said yes, for sure. And my answer is still positive, but I would say probably, but I'll need a minute. Because it really just caught me off guard how difficult it was. And I just realized that I may think I have left the echo chamber before, but I haven't. Because if if me and Evan and Will are all talking super echo chambery, like we've been here for years and this is what we do. If I'm talking to people in my comments, still very echo chambery, they found my video, they're asking about it. Even if they're like, dude, I have no clue what you're talking about, you're still like on social media watching a video about cryptocurrency and leaving a comment about it. Like it's still not the same as these three people that I spoke to on Saturday. The farthest any of them had been was that one of them knew that Bitcoin was a crypto and that they had never heard the term Web3. The only other thing they knew is that, oh yeah, crypto, it's like fake, sketchy, not real money. That was as far as we got. So
you're mostly there already.
Yeah. I said, that's actually one of the first things I said. I was like, well, hold on to that because that's pretty much accurate. But so anyway, we talked for a really long time, and that was another one of my points that like had these three people not been my friends and we had not been, like taking a collective break, actively working on something where I was like getting feedback from them as well, I would have lost these people ages ago. And that just really threw me because I always use the example. Evan has heard me say this of the escalator pitch. The guy at NFT NYC who had a captured audience for the whole escalator ride up. Someone who really wanted to hear what he did, what his project did, and he couldn't explain it in the 30 seconds on the escalator. And the guy was like, nah, never mind. Don't worry about it. I got to go. And he lost him. I always think about that.
Side note, your guy Mert said in a tweet recently, if you can't tell me about your startup without going into all the lore, he said, I don't have time to hear it. He said, I don't need to know what's on board, bro.
No, it's true. Like, I will say, I've always known that it's difficult to do that. But I always thought like I could do it if I was put to the task, and I realized that I can't. So that's what I've been writing a lot for the past couple of days and like trying to work on. So I have a video today that is probably going to be longer, but it's like first crack at starting to strip it down a little bit more and all that sort of stuff. So basically the only way that, or the couple of big things that I took away from this were that there's a few pieces that we all care about way more than we should when it comes to legitimately onboarding masses. And the whole thing made me 100,000% more bullish on Coinbase as a company. Because a couple of things that no one, or this is, like I said, this is anecdotal, but it was universal across all three of them. They could all relate to their bank screwing them over when just trying to get their own money out of the account. All three of them could relate to one moment where they wanted to withdraw some money for some reason, whether they were switching a bank or whether one of them was doing like a big home renovation project. They needed to pay some contractors. And they needed to withdraw. They were withdrawing like, multiple contractors worth of payments at the same time, couldn't do it. A couple other little tiny notices here and there, but they could all relate to the bank not wanting to give them their money back. They could all relate to there being too many people involved in them sending their money somewhere. How many people needed to take a slice of it for whatever reason. They could all relate to that. None of them had any problem with people taking a slice if the service that they were providing was like legitimately helpful. But if they forced their way into it and it was not something that they opted into, then they were upset about it. And they
Makes
were
sense.
like, so that's where we had the conversation. Like, if I just wanted to pay one of these people 10 grand for something, I should just be able to take 10 grand from my account and hand it to you. We don't need anyone else for that. But if we're like, I'm buying this from you and this big thing now needs to be shipped, and then this money needs to, maybe be spread out over 3 or 4 different payments. Like, these were all services that we could agree. Another person can be involved. That's a service that I would pay for. And that's okay. But that the arbitrariness, I don't know, there's a word there that I'm not saying correctly, but all of that, of how many fees that exist and how many people like force their way into the whole thing, that's too much. Then the biggest part about CrowdStake's model specifically was that it sounded too good to be true, and it didn't make any sense, because where does that money come from with regards to staking APY? And this was the hardest question to answer, because like, I can answer it very easily with lots of technical terms that I would not have considered technical terms until this meeting. So like, I could just say, well, in order to run the Ethereum network, validators have to verify all of these transactions that come in and out. And that's a service that costs energy and time. And so they get paid for that. And the money that gets generated from paying all of them also goes to the people who make their job possible in the form of some interest for you, committing your money to secure the network. I could say that, and I could legitimately say there's not really much technical jargon in there. That sentence was pure Latin. Like, it made no sense. Secure, what does that mean, secure? Who are you protecting it from? What the hell is the network? What's validating, what, verifying what? What does that mean, transaction? What do you mean it takes energy to protect the network from what? And then all of a sudden, like, one thing gets questioned and the whole thing just falls apart. And it was really difficult.
One string gets pulled.
It really does. And it really goes to show you, like, if you actually want to get better at this, you have to go find people who are truly removed from it. Because that's the other thing. All 3 of these people, they're not like, this is why I hate the word normie so much. Because they would be called normie in like a Web3 echo chambery kind of place. But like, all 3 of them are very intelligent people. One of them has owned her own company for years and does all of the heavy lifting by herself, travels all over the country helping nonprofits and volunteering and doing all this kind of stuff. And then the other 2, one of them is an electrical engineer / mechanic, can build and fix anything. He's constantly at the rescue fixing broken lawnmowers, air conditioning units, whatever, like, take anything apart, fix anything, engineer. And then his wife was the other person, and she is also extremely capable of doing all this. She handles tons of different money conversations. She works in the medical field. She's currently building her own house with her parents and her husband. So like, these are capable human beings who just have never heard these specific words before. And I just realized that, like, holy shit, I'm so not equipped. I'm not mentally prepared for this. And I had to like do a lot of sit down. Okay, give me a second. Okay, let's think about, okay, how about this? Like, does this part make sense? And lots of back and forth. I'm like, okay, what part was sketchy? What's the sketchy part? And just back and forth.
What,
and back and forth.
Alex, if you mind backing up a second, or is it kind of like zooming out? Like, what exactly were you trying to coach them into doing?
So at first,
giving him their seed phrase, all the Bitcoin.
I was trying to scam them. The first goal was to explain CrowdStake and how we were now able to take crypto donations through CrowdStake, and so we could start mentioning it to potential donors and to people about, like, here's an option for how you can donate. Because one of the things about CrowdStake that I love is that it can make a micro donor's contribution mean a lot more. Because instead of just, Ethan, good to see you. Because one person who has $20 to donate can donate those $20, and thank you, we love you, you don't have to do that. Or they could stake the $20, earn the interest, and then at the end of the time, maybe 2 months goes by and they're like, shit, I really wish that I hadn't have given that $20 to the rest of you. It's okay, take it back. And in the meantime, we've been earning interest. And like, that idea was great. And they're like, okay, but that makes no sense. How the hell does that work? what do you mean interest? And that's where we came apart, because I'm trying to explain, well, it's from staking rewards, but I can't just say, well, it's from staking rewards. You have to explain what staking is, and then blah 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 blah.
Gotcha. Okay. And so where was like the typical place that they were getting hung up on?
Where'd they fall? Where did you lose them? I want to know that too.
The number one lost point was, where does the money come from a staking reward? Because, you know, if I say money, but what I actually mean is ether, then those two things are not necessarily synonymous. And so still having to explain kind of that divide. And the way that I managed to get through with that was just basically talking about, you know, like essentially what we're proposing for people is that the rescue now offers a high yield savings account. The difference is that the high yield goes to the rescue and your money stays your money. So in 6 months, you can come back and withdraw your money. And the whole time it was earning high yield interest in our savings account, but we kept all of the interest, and that was your donation, not the principal.
Yeah, that's it. That's your explanation right there.
So that clicked. It took me a while to get there. So like that was a good big adjustment. And interestingly, this is my last point. Interestingly, that's where I came up to feeling really, really good about Coinbase. And I gave all of them the homework to go to Coinbase's website and not make an account. Don't sign up for anything. Just like go to the website and be a free person and just read some of the stuff. And then tell me, how good is this really? Because like I keep showing this one to people as like, this is the ultimate place for a brand new person to like read something for free without having to pay for anything. And like, you know, read the /learn page and all that sort of stuff. So I'm very curious to hear how they would describe their experience from because they had never heard of Coinbase as a company either. They couldn't name any cryptocurrency exchanges. If I told them, here's $1 million, go buy crypto, they would have no clue how to do it. All that sort of stuff. So starting from absolute scratch. But the interesting thing that came out of this high yield savings account revelation was that they didn't give two shits about who was holding on to that money in that account, as long as the nonprofit that they wanted to benefit trusted it. So that's what I texted James. I was like, I think that, you know, our custody solutions and all this kind of stuff, you know, using Fireblocks for this and blah, blah, blah. I think all of that is hyper important to keep easy to access, but I think we're making too big of a deal out of it. Like that's a good tidbit for the Web3 native people who are just looking to make sure that the place they're putting ETH is secure, and how can they tell? But anyone else, the focus has got to be on the nonprofit and making sure that they have the tools to, you know, explain to their people that like, nope, this is a good option. We would prefer to take donations this way. This can help you, this can help us. And that's really where it is. So it's like, the education that's needed is the rescue to make sure that people know, because the donors then don't give a shit. If they're going to give you $20 into your high yield savings account, they don't care who holds it, as long as the rescue trusted it, which I thought was really interesting.
Can I ask a question of everybody in the chat? Because I empathize with, where does the money come from? That is a common question. That question, I want to know if you have had this experience as a learner or as a teacher. Do you get that question? The other question I get, probably number one question, is a different version of the same thing, is about Bitcoin specifically, because I like to start there, or about any crypto. What makes it worth anything? Like, how does Bitcoin get its value? People have a really hard time understanding that, and I haven't found one method of explaining it that works well for everybody. So I'd be curious to know, is that your experience too, that those questions are common? And if not, what is the most common question that you have had or that you encounter when you're trying to explain this to people? I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'd say I don't get the question too often anymore of why is Bitcoin valuable. I got that question a lot in 2022 and 2023 in my comment section. But I think that now I have been put, because I was a small channel, and so like, you know, in 2022 and 2023, I mean, hell, from the middle point of 2023 all the way through the end of 2019, my presence in the space was like 2,000 followers, you know, maybe 1,500. And so my content was being pushed, like, it didn't know who to push it to. It was being pushed to like normal everyday people. But now I have across everything over 30,000 followers, and it knows what to push my content towards. So it gets pushed more so into the echo chamber. So I don't get the questioning too much more about why does Bitcoin have value, but that's because I'm now being pushed to an audience of people who just assume that Bitcoin is valuable and no longer question it. But if you ask me, why is Bitcoin valuable? The short answer is because people put money into it. That's why it's valuable. But if you want me to talk more about it, it's a level of scarcity combined with functional use. So you have, from a functional use standpoint, the narrative is Bitcoin is the new digital gold. So Bitcoin is more transferable than gold. It's lighter. You can put it in a USB drive, or your hardware wallet. You can fly with $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Try doing that with gold bullion. It's very expensive to move all that stuff, right? So there's that piece. It's also better than gold because it's scarce, right? It's more scarce because of the Bitcoin halving. There's a maximum supply of it. So you have that on top. It's also far, far cheaper to send. There's been a ton of examples of Bitcoin having millions of dollars being transferred across the entire world for pennies or a couple dollars. You cannot possibly do that with large, gigantic sums of money even today, especially if it's gold, right? And the security is much higher with Bitcoin than with gold because you can't physically steal it, right? So these are all functional improvements that provide Bitcoin value on top of the scarcity, which adds to it being a, store of value, right? So it's an improvement as a payment system. It's an improvement as a store of value. These are the things that inherently, from a functionality standpoint, give Bitcoin value, but nothing is valuable if there isn't a pain point in the world. What's the pain point in the world? The pain point in the world is the inflation of fiat currencies, really hurting people who don't have a lot of money, who are included in the financial system, who do not invest in anything that gives them a yield to counteract that inflation. So there's a big, big pain point there. And all the issues that inflation cause in the economy. So it's an issue with the Fed as well. So there's real functional use case for Bitcoin. There's a real world pain point problem that everybody can relate to. And also it's scarce, which when you combine our silly monkey brains with everything that's scarce or shiny, our silly monkey brains apply value to that. So those are the reasons why Bitcoin has value without saying a single thing about blockchain or hash rate or blah, 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 right? Functional use, scarcity, actual real world pain point and how it solves it.
I think for people, so that was fantastic. And I would say I have had people push back on that. And another light bulb that I find that helps unlock things for them is when we talk about mining, because people have a lot of questions about mining and how that plays into the scarcity and also the price. And I don't know if you have a different way of explaining it, but what I have tended to explain is to say that Bitcoin doesn't physically exist. That in order to come on to be, accessible, the data that represents Bitcoin comes into existence when people solve math problems. And these math problems are extremely difficult. They consume a lot of energy. And over time, they get harder and harder. The people who solve these problems use energy-intensive computers to receive Bitcoin for solving math problems as a reward. And because of the energy they expend, the cost to maintain these computers, they aren't willing to sell this Bitcoin for less than it costs them to get it. And I say, people in the world can trade Bitcoin together, but eventually the people who believe in Bitcoin, because it is scarce, are going to want more of it. And the only place they can get it is from these people who receive it when they solve these math problems. So because it's more expensive over time for them to get it, they have to sell it for a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then the people who get it, who want to sell it, are incentivized to sell it for a little bit more. And because it's scarce, there's only ever going to be so much. And more people want it all the time. Then there is an increasing demand that also accelerates the price. So I tie it back to this idea that it only has value because people believe in it. Absolutely. But people believe in it because it's scarce. And the price goes up because it's costly to get.
Well, that's a really good point too, as to why Bitcoin has gone up in value so much faster in comparison to gold, given that gold has been around for thousands and thousands of years. It's because there's technology and also a massive global interconnected financial global system that can do that, but it's also because Bitcoin inherently has its own economic cycle in it. With the miners, they accrue expenses. They need to be able to make a profit high enough, or a revenue higher enough than their expenses to make sure they're in profit, and so are then going to only sell Bitcoin in a manner that helps influence the price of Bitcoin going up long term. So yeah, that's a great point.
Well said. I want to address two other things on this real quick before we move on. Alex and Will both gave answers that are very similar in language, and that I would kind of give. I would say that the thing I would add is, after I explain to people like what it is, what gives your money value, who facilitates that value, and then what if all of that value is backed by a network of people who could just transact directly. That's kind of like the foundational thing. But then I like to say, the example of money is helpful because it's notorious, but I like to move beyond it to say, everything you both said, what if that was the case, that we had these, sort of networks where we could just do stuff with each other directly? For every place in your day-to-day life where you relied on other people, intermediaries, to get access to honest information, like your doctor's office or a news network or your grocery store, where people facilitate that transfer, they could make mistakes or lie to you, and they take a cut, not just of your money, but of your time. And then I tell them that the same way that blockchain helps us do this for money, or that Bitcoin helps us do this for money, a blockchain can help us have transparent, direct transfer of information in all of those industries where trust matters, where speed matters, where whatever matters. I don't know. I like to say that. I feel like it might be a little, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, I feel like it might be a little self-serving to say that because that's something I'm so personally passionate about. I'm sorry, guys, making myself laugh over here, but I have seen some people have a light bulb moment for that too. And Keith asked, Alex, you answered this, who sets the math problem? But I think it should be noted that while all this is facilitated by computer code, it's computer code that functions like your calculator. You don't have to be a computer nerd to see that your calculator is doing math correctly. The same way that I don't have to be a super mega computer coder to see that the Bitcoin in my account went to Will with my permission, or it didn't. And people who use the networks can propose changes to them. If everyone who uses Bitcoin got together and said, you know what, we want more Bitcoin. We don't like the mining algorithm. We don't like that it's going to run out after 21 million. This has happened in the history of Bitcoin. But the important part is that unlike Facebook or the US dollar or the bank that you rely on to keep the rules fair, those people can change the rules at any time, mostly without your permission. Blockchain networks their value is contributed by everybody who uses them, but they're also maintained by everyone who uses them. Anybody can propose a change at any time, and all of us get to have a say in it.
Do you want me to address who and how that math equation gets set, though?
Hell yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Really quick, just a note, Evan. So this is one of my revelations from all of this.
Yes.
You saying that really does sound like non-technical and, like something that can have your head wrapped around. However, the thing that I never considered is that the vast majority of people don't care and have never once thought about the inability to govern an ecosystem that way as a problem.
Yeah, that's because we live in the Matrix, man.
No, it is. So that is an undoubtable, strength of a blockchain network. The ability to say that all of us want to change something, we can all vote to change something. That concept, or even that desire, that's not something in anyone's mind. So
you got to teach people to care first.
Yeah.
Teach them, lead them to it. I get that. That's fair. Go ahead, Will. Tell us about this math.
All right, and then I might have time for one more question. Then I do have to
Okay,
go.
then it's got to be about CME. Someone's asking about CME, and I want to honor
Well,
their
I
time.
can do both in 3 minutes.
Hell yeah. Okay. Thank you, Will.
So the math equation that Bitcoin miners go to calculate, and then whoever does it first gets the Bitcoin mining reward. That math calculation is automatically set by the Bitcoin network. It's basically just like an automated system that sets the difficulty of how hard that math equation is. Now, the difficulty of the math equation goes up and down based on something called the hash rate. You don't need to necessarily know what that means. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar. But basically, it means like how big and how secure is Bitcoin, or how many Bitcoin miners are out there supporting the network. More Bitcoin miners, higher hash rate. Less Bitcoin miners, lower hash rate. The hash rate decides how difficult this math equation is, because if there are more and more Bitcoin miners, you want it to be harder and harder for people to get. And that's kind of the incentive system. So just think about it as an automated equation that automatically has its difficulty change based on how many miners there are in the market. Okay. And just think about it like that, as simply as possible. And now the CME gap, I talked about it in my morning update video. There's a good chance that it might not get filled. And this, I mean,
What is
there's
the
always a
CME?
chance it does. Oh, yeah, right. So the CME gap, it refers to a gap that exists on the futures chart. If you look at a stock, because stock markets close and traditional financial markets close on Friday, they don't operate on weekends. If the price of a stock opens up on Monday at a higher or lower trading point, there's a gap in price between where the market closed on Friday and where it decided to open on Monday. And in stocks, it's like a 90% likelihood of those gaps being filled. And what that means is, say you have, I'm just going to pick a whole number. Say you have a gap for a stock at $10 and it's up at $12, right? It opens. So there's a gap between $12 to $10. There's like a hole in the chart. The gaps getting filled would mean that it should correct down in future price action back down to $10 to close that gap. Okay. And this exists in Bitcoin as well, ever since we created a futures market. Because the futures market on CME closes on Friday, opens up on Monday, but the price of Bitcoin doesn't. So if the price of Bitcoin goes up Saturday, Sunday, or down Saturday, Sunday, there's a gap on the futures chart. And just like with stocks, about 90 to 95% of the time, the gaps get filled with future price action. So right now, we have a gap on the Bitcoin CME futures chart at about like 58.5, 59,000 right there. So the thought process being that gaps get filled means that Bitcoin should come down to that $58.5, $59,000 because gaps get filled. But not all gaps get filled. And this was pointed out to me on Twitter this morning, actually by Josh Jake, so credit goes to him, where the last time that the RSI, which is another indicator you can use in a chart, was oversold on the daily time frame, there was also a gap that appeared in the chart really, really close. And this was Bitcoin at like $35,000 or something. And obviously we have not gone down and filled it because we had the huge ETF run-up that happened. And right now, we've had an oversold reading on the RSI. Morning, dude. We've had an oversold reading on the RSI, and we now have this gap that exists. So that, if we look back, like there is a clear example in this cycle of us being oversold in the RSI and having a gap that has never been filled, or at least hasn't been filled in the past 4 or 5 months or so, maybe even 6 months. So when I look at that, I go, okay, cool, there's something there, but that's not a lot of data. It's not a lot of data to be like, cool, we're not going to fill that gap. But if you look at the chart, we've broken out above resistance in a really bullish way. The weekly chart showing us that we're oversold. So there are other things lining up also that maybe we won't go down and close the CME gap. I'll tell everybody, though, that if you're simply just going on, fill the gap, you know, you have like a 90% chance of us going back down to 58.5K. However, there's a lot of bullish sentiment in the market right now because it looks like Trump is likely to win the election. So you have a lot of positive sentiment in the crypto space at the moment because of that and his positive crypto policies. We have a bunch of good things happening on like the daily, weekly time frame of us like breaking up above some very key resistance levels. And you have this RSI reading as well. So I'll not say that we definitely won't fill the CME gap, but there is a very strong case to say that we won't actually go down and close it this time around, and that we will continue to move forward, particularly because right now we just broke a pattern that should, air quotes, send us to 65.5K. And, we are in a bull flag on the weekly chart as well, if that holds. So I would say, if I was a betting man, which I am, I would say the gap will be partially closed, probably today and Tuesday, because we are overbought on some other time frames, but I don't think it'll be entirely closed for all those reasons. So we'll close most of it at the very least. I'm fully prepared for it to go down to 58.5K, and I'll be stacking some more altcoins.
Nice. Mackie, Will's got to go, but let us know if you understood that. We can zoom in on it. Will, have fun, man.
You can also go check out the morning update I did, because I actually pull up the charts in the background, which is always just way easier and nicer. I think it was a 4-minute update this morning, but you can just 2 times get through it. You'll get the gist. Okay, guys, I got to run.
Bye, brother. Thanks for
Love you guys. Be safe.
Bye now. So just for everyone who's listening along who might want to take a little bit more time with this whole gaps thing, it is not an area of my expertise at all. I would defer to Will to talk about that kind of thing, but I did get a really great little breakdown out of ChatGPT 4.0 about explaining why gaps matter and what it means. And I put the write-up formatted in the general chat, and it's a pretty good little breakdown. So if you want to go through that, give that a peek. It just covers some of the terms, why it matters, what the hell a gap is. And I don't know, I've never encountered the specific, a specific problem, in myself that I needed to understand this better. But it does matter if you are trying to day trade or trying to learn how to day trade or, make better buys and sells and that kind of stuff. Whereas I'm just someone who, buys stuff and then waits for it to be green and then sells stuff and then waits for it to be red and then buys other stuff and then back and forth. I don't really think about it.
Yeah, and GPT is a great conversational partner for trying to understand most of those things. I would say if you continue to struggle with it, that would be my recommendation too. So let us know if we can help, but definitely start by checking out that post in the Discord and then go see what ChatGPT's got to say. Bye, Linda. Thanks for hanging out with us. I know your mom knows more than most moms as a demographic, if we're going to be stereotypical about it. But when you were talking about we should have some people on the show that we can play this out with,
yes,
your mom was the first person I thought of, because I think she is enough of a straddler. She's like Kim. Kim knows more about this stuff than 99% of all people, but she's skeptical and she doesn't work here every day and would absolutely be a good person to say, okay, but, and I feel like your mom could do that too. And she's usually up with us. So,
well,
we love it.
You will get your wish, because my mom will be here next week for the entire week. And she will absolutely be on the show, whether she wants to or not.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely cannot wait for that.
Yep. So the Rise Up Morning Show coming to you guys next week, live, same time, same place, same people, plus my mom.
Wow. I have so many questions for her. Honestly, truly, beyond beyond Bitcoin, but I can't wait. I can't wait, Linda.
So real quick, there was hold on.
Doesn't have to click, man.
Mackie, I would 100% recommend, if you are not in our free Discord, the write-up that I just put in the general chat. Hopefully that helps. And if it doesn't, let me know what else is missing from that for the futures conversation. Hold on. I want to find this question because I wanted to go back. Okay. From Keith.
Yeah.
I still don't understand the purpose of these math equations. Who uses the correct answer and for what? Okay. So really good question. So I think I'm going to take a crack at this. This is a good one.
And then I actually have a secret answer for this too.
Okay, sweet. So bear with us, Keith, because this is not a question that I'm used to answering, but it's a really good one. So I'm going to try to do a better job than I have in the past. Who uses, in answer to who uses the math equations that we're talking about here, I would say that everyone who uses Bitcoin needs these math equations to work out. The best way to think about it is that instead of having a teacher who has the answer to the math problem written on a piece of paper, actually, you know what? That is a good way to think about it. So the teacher is standing at the front of the room, and in this context, the teacher is the code. The Bitcoin code is the teacher. They're holding the answer to the next math problem on a piece of paper in front of them that only they can see. And they have a room full of students. The students are the miners. The miners are all screaming numbers at this teacher. And eventually, one of the people is going to scream out the correct answer. Maybe 2 or 3 people will scream out the correct answer at the same time. Often that is what happens because there's lots of screaming students. There are hundreds of screaming students. When the correct answer gets screamed out, the teacher acknowledges that, okay, Bill over there just got the answer to this one. Here's a piece of candy. And then they pull out the piece of paper to the next math problem from their pocket, and the process starts over again. And it keeps going. And every time someone gets it right, candy goes to those people. If 3 people get it right at the same time, the candy gets cut into 3 pieces, and each person gets a piece, a third of that candy. Candy is Bitcoin. Students screaming are miners. Teacher is the Bitcoin code. So the reason that the network continues to function and outside of the classroom, that candy is being circulated all throughout the school, and it's being handed from Bill to Kim to Rachel and back and forth and all these people. And some of them are eating the candy and some of them are just bartering with the candy to get better stuff. Those are all the people using Bitcoin. And if that room full of screaming students getting the candy from the teacher stops working, everyone in the school loses access to the candy. And that would be bad because then their whole economy would fall apart because the candy is the thing that facilitates all of the deal making in the school to trade for, new sneakers or extra time at recess or whatever. The better play. The locker next to Rachel is the best locker because we love Rachel or whatever it is. And that's all stuff that we need candy for. I just fucking came up with that off the top of my head, and I think that's a good one.
I think it's good too, and it reminds me of. Do you remember we were at Bitcoin Miami, and there was like on the showroom floor, somebody had written a children's book about Bitcoin, and
Yes.
and I imagine that is like what the plot of that children's book would be. Okay, all right, okay. Let me take a crack at this. Keith says, "Great analogy, but what's the use of the answer?" Let me try and crack at it, and then we can, if we don't get it, we can back and forth the question. So, if that analogy doesn't work for you, let's say it's like a computer game. Okay, the answer in itself has no usefulness. But have you ever played a video game like a where the levels get progressively harder, like Balloons, where your monkey throws the dart at the balloons, or like Tetris, where each level the thing gets faster? Imagine there was a game like that, or a game like Wordle that everybody played, okay? Everybody on the Bitcoin network, the thing they do, there is this Bitcoin code, which is programmed to sense how many people are playing the game right now. If it's one person, not only does it sense how many people are playing the game, it senses how powerful those players are, okay? So the game begins, and it's running all the time. And right now there's one person in the room, and they're not a very powerful player. In the case of the Bitcoin network, they're using a slow computer to guess the number. The algorithm, it's a number setting algorithm. It sets a low or small number, an easy number to guess. And it goes back and forth and allows the player to guess the number. And when the player guesses the number, the reward, Bitcoin, is given to them. If there are 10,000 players and some of them are like super good, competing to solve this problem, the algorithm can sense that. It can see how many people are playing, how good they are, and it can adjust the difficulty of the problem. Something nobody said yet in this conversation is that the algorithm has a goal of setting a problem that is easy enough to be solved in about 10 minutes, okay? And when somebody guesses it, the problem is reset. And the computer code senses, again, how many players are playing, how difficult it is. And what's the purpose of the answer? The purpose of the answer, the value is that first, that's how Bitcoin is released into the system. So first and foremost, this finite supply of Bitcoin that everybody wants is only released by playing this game. But the second purpose is that in order to, Bitcoin, it's a ledger. We've talked about this. It's basically a time stamping machine. When people buy, sell, transfer Bitcoin, that is a transaction that gets added to this long list of transactions that represent the Bitcoin network. That's all Bitcoin is a string of transactions that happen in order that allow us to keep track of where the Bitcoin is, who has access to it. And that transaction is written on sort of a page, if you will, in this magic notebook. As people play the game, the pages aren't published until the problems are solved. So the only way to keep the record going, to continue allowing people to buy, sell, transfer, exchange Bitcoin, is to solve these problems. Problems get solved, a new page is added to the notebook, and we can do more. So everybody who values using Bitcoin to share their information that represents, in this case, money, needs the game to keep playing. They need the algorithm to be responsive to how many people are playing, to set an appropriate difficulty so that every 10 minutes we can get a new page. Otherwise, nobody's going to be able to send and receive their Bitcoin. Oh, and quick follow-up question from John. Where is the Bitcoin held? Is it in a master wallet? The data that represents Bitcoin is mintable. John, I'm talking to you specifically, meaning it doesn't exist until it's released by the algorithm into the network. The first time it's alive is when the algorithm, which sort of has a knowledge of how much lives because it can see all the people playing the game and it can see all the pages that have been written previously. And it knows how much it's allowed to release every time you play the game. It simply exists when it's almost like, to use Alex's analogy, it's almost like the teacher's pouch generates candy according to how much candy already exists in the classroom and how many pages have been written in the notebook, how many rounds of the game have been played. Over time, the computer senses this and knows, it's time for us to cut the amount of candy we give in half. That's the halving. Until all 21 million pieces of candy have been distributed to the kids. And then the game stops.
Yep.
Or the game changes. Hope that helps.
Put it this way, the network will go on without the coin will not.
I'm not sure I understand that.
I'm not sure either. I'm inclined to say no, that the two things are very directly related. However, I think if you can write that a different way or give me some more context, that would be great. But I know that you're severely limited with characters and comments on TikTok here. I think that one of the ways that the water gets muddied a lot when trying to understand the relationship between Bitcoin, the coin, and the blockchain network that it lives on is just that we as humans now have continued to assign a greater and greater US dollar monetary value to the coins. That's the part that is not necessary for the network to function or for the coin to mean anything.
No, but it's sort of inevitable, don't you think?
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying that the specific dollar value, like Bitcoin functions perfectly fine, whether it's valued by us at $1 or $100,000 per coin. Like that part doesn't really matter. We still, in this day and age, we're still at the point where the only way that we know how to measure and display the value of Bitcoin is with a US dollar equivalent or a euro equivalent or a yen equivalent. But ideally, I always like to say the Back to the Future quote, like where we're going, we don't need roads. Ideally, we would start measuring the things we need money for by, how much Bitcoin it takes to get there. There's a constant comparison called the Big Mac standard, which is just how many Satoshis does it cost to buy a Big Mac, and that's used to track inflation constantly. So like the adjusting price as the Big Mac goes up in price and Bitcoin also goes up in price. If you track like how much the price measured in Satoshis, which is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, you can kind of tell like, okay, is the economy going up faster than the price of Bitcoin is going up? Which I've always found kind of interesting. That's actually like a pretty widely accepted standard of inflation measurement amongst Bitcoin maxis is the Big Mac standard.
Yeah, I believe that. Oh, and to be clear, for people who don't know, Alex just said a Satoshi is a millionth of a Bitcoin.
100
Bitcoin
million.
is divisible. You don't just have to buy one Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin in increments as small as Satoshis, which are 0.000001 Bitcoin. I don't think I did enough zeros. You know, but I think what is it? 8 zeros, 7 zeros?
It's 1/100 millionth. There are 100 million Satoshis per Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay. So more zeros than I gave it, but you can buy them in small increments. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. It's like our penny. That's exactly right, Angel. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. So, goes back to everything is fake and we make everything what it is based off our vision. Absolutely. It's all a social construction, like language, like money, like moral values, laws. All of it is a social construction. It lives not in the physical world, but in our heads and hearts and our collective ideas together. It doesn't exist.
I will say that the word fake is not as helpful as, not that it's wrong.
Yeah.
In the way that I think people who say it's fake mean that it's fake. There's a lot of stuff that you could say is technically fake that doesn't mean it's not real, and this is very much the same thing. Like, sure, if collectively all of us together decided tomorrow that this wasn't it, we screwed up, then sure, the price would crater because we would all change our minds about it and we'd all be like, I don't care about this anymore and get rid of it. And it would be revealed that yes, it was all a construct in our minds. But that's not to say that like right now, while we all believe that it's not real. That was actually, Evan, one of the things that you mentioned earlier with regards to, the stuff doesn't exist in a way that I think lots of people view crypto as, fake internet money that doesn't exist. And while I don't really disagree with that, especially in the way that, the vast majority of crypto tokens are, one thing that I did say over this weekend while I was talking to my friends about this was, not to say that you're wrong, but would you call the latest, Taylor Swift album that you downloaded, would you call that not real or fake? And they're like, well, no, I can listen to it. Like, okay, yep, exactly. But it's digital. Yes. Okay, so you can't hold it in your hands. Well, I could put it on a flash drive and hold it. Yes. Okay, so that helps make it more tangible. It helps like place something in your hand. That was a very specific actually moment that my friend Randy, the engineer, said about crypto is that like, it's not as good as, I understand that it's not as good as dollars because I can't hold it in my hand. And I said, in order to say yes or no to that, you really just have to openly define, okay, thank you. Crypto Mob was sending me the link to a video, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
Where was I?
You were saying not that the physical dollar versus Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
I can't touch it.
Yeah, so that after that came out, we started talking a little bit about how most U.S. dollars have been digital for the last 50 years or so. And like, yes, there is, of course, the specific difference that you can go somewhere and withdraw it into cash. But in that case, it's still just paper that says, yes, this is the dollar you're looking for. And we've just become so used to that it's the case. But like, if you wanted to hold the digital version, you could technically pass it all around on flash drives or on disks of some sort, or, however you would like to store it. So we have to adjust our definition of like, well, what does it mean to hold something in my hand to make it real? And if we're cool with saying, if I hold a hard drive in my hand, I am holding data because the hard drive is the vehicle that the data lives on. This is the same way. But completely agree. Like, there's no paper. Actually, And this now would be not worth bringing up. I wouldn't go here because it just starts to get more in the weeds and more confusing. You could technically write the keys to Bitcoin down on paper and hand that around.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a
You
sudden,
could use Bitcoin if the internet went down.
and all of a sudden you're transacting in paper cash that legitimately has a Bitcoin equivalent that you could actually use to redeem Bitcoin, which is kind of neat.
I like to help people understand. I think the physical nature of paper money has kind of taken people away from this understanding that even this money is backed not by its physical presence in the real world. It is backed by a promise to pay. It represents something else. It is a symbol. And we could have symbols like this to represent Bitcoin. The reason we don't is because if I tear this in half, its existence, I got to carry it. Like Will said, it's hard to take 800 tons of gold on a plane somewhere. It's easy to forge. It's easy to fake. It requires a lot of security. It requires a lot of infrastructure, and it requires all kinds of intermediaries. Computers can't do as much with this as they can with the ones and zeros that represent Bitcoin in order to help us ensure that it's legitimate, in order to help us transfer it instantly without error. And so it is the same kind of abstraction, that this is a thing which represents something else, but the physical versus digital nature of it is arbitrary, totally arbitrary. That's the definition of fiat, exactly, a promise. When we say fiat money, a common term in crypto, what we are talking about is symbolic value, a thing which represents something else, like a word. You know, river doesn't mean anything to the owls and birds and trees, but it allows us to use a sound to ensure that we've made meaning about an idea more quickly than just going, you know. Alex, you texted me last night.
Yes. A lot
I
of
get
stuff.
this text from Alex.
I was fired up.
He was fired up. And we get fired up a lot. I really love and appreciate the level of friendship that Alex and I have achieved, that I get these little Christmas presents in July of just a message from Alex, and he says, listen. 2 things. Number 1, I love you. Number 2, talking about how much we can do to bridge this gap in education, especially here on TikTok. And he told me I might be pretty fired up tomorrow. And honestly, you're a lot tamer than I expected, man.
Well,
You're a lot tamer than I expected.
It's because I was late and I didn't want to derail where you had already gotten us to by just sort of like, okay, Evan, that was great. Shut up. It's time for me to rant.
Alex woke up just breathing fire from his nostrils, sat down at his computer and was like, but what got you so fired up? And are you warmed up and ready to rant? Do you want to share with people, or do you want to defer your rant to another day? Because I think there's a lot of substance to this, and something we can get some good feedback from our friends on. Also, maybe, well, you go there. I don't want to segue before I finish.
No, it's fine. We can. I think we can save some of it for another day in the week when it's a little bit more relevant, because I think that this so far has been really valuable. Like, it makes me personally so happy to have and facilitate a conversation about crypto where we don't talk about which token to go long on one single time. And it says so much, I think, about like the audience and all of you watching that are here, that I didn't see a single comment that was like thoughts on bleh, because hopefully because we were getting some sort of a value out of the back and forth here that we were talking about. So like that just makes me like immeasurably happy in a day where it's difficult to be happy about the state of this industry because of the way that I see it talked about all the time. So the thing that I was fired up about was just, you know, I had this conversation with my 3 friends who are completely brand new to all of this, and I just realized, like, yeah, I'm going to toot my own horn just a little bit. I apologize ahead of time. It sounds a little pretentious. I'm sorry. I hear it before I say it.
Toot that horn, baby.
I like to think that I'm quite good at breaking this down, and that the thing that makes Evan and I unique especially on TikTok in the crypto space, is like a legitimate understanding of how some of, not all, I'm not even a ton, but some of this stuff works, and that's where we can focus on. Instead of standing here with a quantum computing project on the screen in the background trying to explain to you and pontificate about how quantum computing and blah, blah, blah works. I don't know how that shit works. So why would I pretend to you that I do to get you to buy those crypto, whatever? So that's the strength. So I like to think that I'm pretty good at that. Having this conversation with my 3 friends, I was like, oh my God, I kind of suck at this. And I really thought that I was better. Like, if you had asked me beforehand, are you good at doing this? I would have said, yeah, for sure. Of course I could do that. Now I'm like, no, I need some work. I have to like go back to the drawing board. I got to read more. I got to write more. I got to figure out different ways to say this. I got to really examine the specific language that I'm using and like how things I would not have thought were technical jargon, like verify and secure, how they really are. And just all of the things that I and we all here take for granted as being like, yeah, no, I understand that part. Yeah, I get that part. I know that a blockchain stores data. Many people don't know that. Whatever. So that was really the thing that I texted Evan. That was just like, we need to work on this for real, because I've never encountered anyone who is running like a crypto show or doing crypto content that talks about it this way. And if everyone's buzz phrase, this is what you should take away from this as an investor in this stuff. If every single buzz phrase on every single website for every Web3 protocol and tool and project and exchange and wallet and game and whatever is like, we're going to onboard the next billion, or the first billion rather, which is a lot of them. That's such a common buzz phrase.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Great goal. What are you doing to even get to the first 100 million? Because the answer is not enough. And that's where this is the pretentious part. Like, if I can't do it, this random fintech startup that just said our wallet's going to onboard the next billion, you're already losing, and you're not going to onboard the next billion unless you do some major adjustments in how you talk to people. And I realized that like every Web3 project and person and influencer and creator and educator that I've ever come across is helping people who are already in Web3 get better at Web3, not helping people who have no fucking clue what any of this means get to the point where they understand why it's worth learning about. And that's the gap that I want to fill here. So that's the crux of the rant. I went on and on because I was a little buzzed and I was sending Evan lots of rambly things, but
I was like, bro, how are you going to make it to the morning show if you haven't, like you're having 2 Saturday nights over there?
And then I was late. So we got...
I like it though. I like it. And I want to say thank you to Daniel and to everybody who's expressed kind thoughts. The show we want to do is a show that's different than anything anywhere, and especially on TikTok. It is not a unique thing for TikTok, but it is especially bad here. It is especially bad here that you will encounter videos that just aren't helpful, but which people think are, because the general level of acumen is so low. I had a conversation last night with somebody who was talking about, do your own research, and this is why it's so important. But even people like me and Alex, who have been here a while, who have the experience and acumen to like judge a product, don't always have access to the information required to tell, is this worth our time, trust, and attention? Like, I don't have the ability to talk to every single founder or their first employer or their coworkers the way I would if I was an investor in the real world. If I wanted to send somebody $100,000 check to invest in their bakery, I would sit down with that person multiple times. I would ask to see statements from their bank. I would ask to see their business plan. You know what I mean? And reading white papers and looking at websites and checking social media gives us the guys we're doing that. But it's really, for most of these projects, is not enough. And people who pass it off like it is, I don't know. They're just they're not your teachers. It is so difficult to trust a project team's intentions. And as much as we talk about it, we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. We should be able to use protocols that work or that don't. Lady Money said, my word should be enough. 100K, sir. Hang on, let me write a check. Do you take Bitcoin? And Alex, can I borrow some? Oh my gosh. Buzzwords, man. And if you have suggestions for our show, for how we can do that better, they're always welcome on this platform. I wanted to ask a question of our audience, which is, we've got the show 4 days a week. You can join us here Monday through Thursday. You can send it to your friends. For people who are in a different time zone, who don't get up that early or stay up that late, then we've got the live streams uploaded to YouTube. They're not as timely. You can't interface with us directly, but you can watch the show at the YouTube for Faceless Labs. You can join the Discord community. Totally free to jump in, ask a question, share a link, invite us to respond to something, check it out for you. We've got the newsletter, and that's something I want to ask you about. We send a newsletter right now once a week that's got the best, briefest bullets from the show. Summarized stuff. Usually I pop a link to one of the YouTube videos we do that's like a tutorial there, or if there's a great TikTok video that went up during the week that explains something, goes in the newsletter. We talk about a link, goes in the newsletter. If you missed the show, you can catch up there. But I got to be honest with you guys. I hate writing the newsletter. I made the newsletter to be the antidote to newsletters that I hate. I hate getting newsletters. So I was like, oh, once a week, that'll be great. People will love it. I will love it. I don't love it. And I wonder, we've got a growing newsletter audience that seems to engage with and read the publication. But how would you feel if you're a subscriber to the newsletter? How would you feel if it happened twice a month or even once a month? I worry that once a month it would get overwhelming. Like it wouldn't be as valuable because there'd be too much to keep up with. I feel like twice a month might be a good balance, but I also want to know, is it valuable to you? If you're a newsletter subscriber, is it valuable? And if you're not, do me this favor. You can go to the riseupmorningshow.com or the link in either of our bios and you can sign up. And I will not be sad if you sign up and then unsubscribe, but I would like some more feedback on that. I think there's a world where it could be valuable, but I don't know that it really is. So I want to know. And then we want to know your feedback generally. You know, we've got all that stuff going on, and we've just started doing live classes and coaching. If you want to learn about how to set up a wallet, Web3 101, this Friday's course is going to be how to spot and avoid scams in crypto. Some of the most common scams that we see in the cryptocurrency space. You can register for it at theriseupmorningshow.com or catch the recording. We're doing classes on Fridays for now. Somebody suggested Sundays. And Alex, I know that's a day you're free. It'd be easier for us to tag team those things together. But feedback on all of it, questions, suggestions, good jokes, words of wisdom, always welcome. My commercials get longer and longer, man. I don't know how to do it.
Well, let me bring it back with two questions.
Thank you.
Let me just write down so I don't forget.
I'm checking out all. Oh, Tori pinned a comment, but I can't see it.
I know. I keep seeing that across other people's lives. Like, oh, they just pin a comment really quickly, and I'm like, how the hell did you do that? What kind of witchcraft? We don't have the ability to do it, but moderators do apparently. And Tori was struggling with it, and now you've pinned a comment, but I can't see it. Can you guys see the pinned comment that Tori pinned, or is it like a thing that we can't see? But okay, thank you, Tori.
I feel like Joe Biden trying to read a teleprompter over here. Not a political comment, but just like.
All right, let me answer these two questions. Oh, you can't pin if you have a guest. Well, thank you, Angel. I learn something new every day. Evan, you have to decide. Would you rather have me here or pin the comment? Don't answer that.
Well, Alex, it's a tough decision. I'm going to need more time to think about it.
Okay, I think it was Nick. So Nick Johnson asked the first question, and then where'd it go? And then Alan asked the second question. So first of all, Alan, great to see you. Alan was someone who I think may have just found some of my videos yesterday and left me a number of great comments, and I really appreciated it. Lots of really good, meaningful comments to be left. So I'm glad that you're finding some value here, and of course we can talk about that. So Nick's question was not really a question, more of a statement. Excited about the base ecosystem, but kind of worried that as it grows, there will probably be some sort of a large hack that can drain lots of money, or something could happen. I do have some thoughts about that, and so I'll talk about that. And then Alan's question: can you zoom out and talk about the big picture of the industry like NFTs, where do they fit? And absolutely. So I will, Evan, I think perhaps I can take a crack at both of these, and then you can
Sounds great.
fill in the gaps. Okay.
I will piggyback wherever.
So Evan and I are both huge fans of bass. I'm a fan of bass, honestly, way more after this weekend than I was before, which is significant because I was already a pretty big fan. Bass is exciting because it's a blockchain that's being run and managed at this point by a centralized company, Coinbase, that has a history of being really user-friendly while maintaining good, strong control, which they have to because they're a publicly traded company. And if Base gets hacked, that's going to reflect poorly on Coinbase as a company, which is going to hurt their stock price. So they are very incentivized to be as good as they can with cybersecurity. But of course, no one is perfect. And big stuff that is a publicly traded company gets hacked all the time. So Coinbase is certainly not impervious to exploit. I will say, though, one of the things that I look for and think about constantly is, okay, if something is being advertised to me as being decentralized, is it? And if so, how much? Because decentralization is a spectrum. There is no such thing as something that is, 100% decentralized with zero. Like I would say Bitcoin, we would all agree that Bitcoin is like really decentralized. However, I would counter by saying that, yeah, but what happens if tomorrow Michael Saylor comes out and he's like, guys, sorry, I was wrong. This stuff sucks. I'm selling all of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin. Do you think that that would have an overweighted impact on Bitcoin as a thing? Because it would, which means that there is a central point of at least significant control or influence in Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy and how much Bitcoin they hold. Cardano is often talked about as being decentralized. And that was a big milestone that they reached. But if tomorrow Charles resigned, was like, dude, screw this, it would crater. So much faith would be shaken, all that good stuff, right? So things are never completely decentralized. There's always some piece. And with Coinbase, very similar to the reason I originally got really into Polkadot was because they recognized and were very open about, listen, this shit's centralized as hell. We're doing that for a reason, and here is our plan to gradually turn over control to the user base to decentralize. So because that is how they're conducting themselves, I'm less worried about a hack than just some free-balling, fintech startup company. I don't know if anyone else can hear that. Is that, Evan, is that on my end or your end?
It's both of us.
Okay.
Sorry. But I got you now.
It's
okay. You only lost about 5 seconds. We got the substance of your answer.
Okay. So anyway, it's very possible, and we have to conduct our own due diligence and make sure we're doing the best to, be secure on ourselves. Angel, thank you very much. Certainly don't have to do that. But I'm a little bit less worried about a base hack than I am about some other stuff, just because, Coinbase is running the security on that, and they have a pretty good track record. I think you're 100% valid in having that as a concern, and it should stay on all of our minds. And we shouldn't let our guard down just because something like Coinbase is there. And I do want to make it clear, just for people who maybe haven't heard me talk about this before, I'm not saying that Coinbase is the greatest company ever and that centralized control of a blockchain is fine and good and the way that we should be going. But I do think that it is honestly necessary if what we want to do is start to onboard more and more people to have some kind of entity that's maintaining some control and then gradually turning it over following some sort of a plan. I think that has a higher chance of success than just being like, hey kids, here's the whole network. Good luck. Don't drive it into the ground, because we've seen that happen before too. Then with regards to the entire ecosystem of all of Web3 and specifically NFTs, where do they fit? Actually, here, I have it sitting right here. 1 second.
Uh-oh.
Visual aid.
Love it. Just waiting with bated breath to see.
The one thing I'm not going to go do is pull the painting off the wall.
Oh, yeah. I know this one.
Imagine I'm holding a painting. It's hanging in my kitchen right now. I'll take us in there in a second and show you. But when I bought the painting, it came with all of this. This is a certificate of authenticity, watermarked and embossed and stamped by the gallery, appraisal from the gallery, and then just a little letter that I probably don't need to keep, but just like proof with my name on it, proof that like I bought this from the gallery. So I always say NFTs are really, really cool. It's really cool technology, but we constantly use it for kind of shallow stuff, I guess. The best way to think about, like what is an NFT and where does it fit into all of this is that an NFT, which Evan, given kind of how we've been talking about, stripping back the technical jargon and language and whatever, I feel like for this particular explanation, just because, Alan, I'm talking to Alan here, I don't want to get too far into the weeds of like defining non-fungible and token and all that kind of stuff, just because I think it's going to make this take way too long. But we can go back and do that. That would be a good like long form YouTube video, Evan, that we should do.
We have that conversation every couple of weeks, and it's one of my very favorites to do because I think we really shine in that conversation, and I just enjoy the hell out of it. But I think what you always say is the best answer for both people. It is proof of, you used to say proof of digital ownership, but I feel like, proof, you did a thing, proof of ownership. It is a way to verify a thing.
It's, an NFT is really just the way that you can prove that for the first time, something that you own that is digital is actually yours and is actually unique. So, the JPEG is honestly a great way to kind of visualize it. Like take something like the Bored Ape Yacht Club or whatever. The NFT is not the picture of the monkey wearing the board shorts. I keep saying that even though not a single Bored Ape has
I don't think they have board shorts, bro. Not a tree.
None of them are anything from chest.
See what's happening down here.
I like to think that all of those apes are wearing board shorts. But anyway, we could say sunglasses, a monkey wearing sunglasses. So the picture is not the NFT. The picture is the thing that the NFT like proves is real. So if Evan's trying to tell me by showing me in his Twitter, profile picture, like here's this bored ape, and I'm led to believe that, okay, that's probably his because he's got it set as his PFP. The NFT specifically would be how he proves that to me. And if he can't show me the NFT, then I would know he doesn't really have it, which means that it's just a picture of a monkey. So NFTs, I think right now are just being used kind of like only on the fringes. It's like, it's the art thing. It's like the way to, I don't know, it's just another thing you can slap a Ponzi scheme into. But I like to believe that in the future, NFTs as digital certificates of authenticity will just be what we use to prove that the digital property we own is real and it's actually ours. That's probably the easiest way to think about it. Now I'm second guessing the way that I answer all kinds of things because of the language. So please, if there's like a gap or something that doesn't make sense, then let me know.
You got some insecurities about your explainers now.
I really do. I'm like going back through puberty. I am. I'm going back through all of the ways that I answer questions and just thinking like, okay, does that actually make sense? Like, was there any language in there that needed to be cleaned up or whatever,
I think it's fine. And I also think, let me take it over real quick because I have another analogy that can answer some of these clarifying questions we're getting. Like, what's the real application for NFTs? Just like Alex has a certificate of authenticity for his painting, the application of NFTs is to improve upon that, the way Bitcoin improves upon gold. It's hard for Alex to take that with him everywhere he might want to go to show that he owns that painting. It is going to deteriorate over time. It could be forged or faked. It could be damaged. And unlike that certificate, this is not a thing that somebody looks at to verify. It is a thing that is proven digitally, effortlessly, errorlessly. The example I use is about the summer I ate McDonald's for free. In 2015, I moved to Memphis and I was broke as hell. There was a McDonald's down the street from my house and they had just released this promotion where if you made a purchase and got a receipt, there was a little survey you could fill out online. you could put a little code in, and for a limited time, they changed this after a while. It was do a survey, get a sandwich for free. We'll give you a little code. I would go to McDonald's every day and I would just wait for people to finish their lunch and throw stuff away. And I'd go to the trash can and I'd pull like 10 receipts out of this trash can. I'd sit there on my little iPhone. I'd fill out receipts. I'd write the little code in and I'd walk up to the cash register and I'd say, I'd like a McChicken. I'd like a this. I'd like a that. And they were not able, because they were looking at a paper receipt that was easy for me to pick up from the trash can, that was transferred to me without the owner's permission or McDonald's permission, I was able to claim a reward I was not entitled to. If that receipt, the proof of purchase, was an NFT, here's how it'd be different. Every time you buy McDonald's, you get a receipt, but it is in the form of a token that proves you purchased stuff at McDonald's. First of all, it doesn't physically exist, so nobody can drop it on the ground or pick it up from a trash can. Second, if I try to do that, if I show up with a receipt and say, hey, this is original, they're not looking at, wow, that looks like a real receipt. They are looking at a record on a blockchain which shows what the thing is, who owns it, and where it's been. They're going to know in an instant that my piece of paper is not tied to a token on the blockchain, and therefore I am not entitled to this reward. That token now also, instead of being just thrown away like a useless piece of paper in a trash can, that person who may not ever want to use the reward, they could put it on a marketplace. And instead of throwing it away, they could sell it for 5 cents. If they eat McDonald's every day, they might get $1 for selling those receipts to people like me who would want to pay less than the price of a sandwich to redeem the reward. And the final added benefit is that McDonald's, because these are tokens and not receipts, McDonald's can instantly, effortlessly use an interface that's like Google to see who their most valuable customers are. They can see, wow, Alex shows up every day at 10 a.m. and buys coffee and a Big Mac. We're going to send him a coupon that he can send to one of his family members. Or they're going to see, oh, Evan, he goes to Burger King every day. They're going to look up Burger King's receipts on the blockchain. They'll be like, this guy goes to Burger King every day. He's a valuable customer for them. Let's send him a coupon and build a relationship with him so he starts buying from us instead. They're going to see, oh, all of our customers who buy Big Macs also love Nike shoes. We're going to reach out to Nike and do a promo. Like it makes many of the things that businesses, consumers, and all kinds of everyday people like us do all the time better, faster, more secure, and therefore more valuable. It doesn't just have to be a picture of a monkey or a certificate of ownership. It can be anything you might want to prove, to give a tangible form to, but which otherwise doesn't physically exist and would be hard to verify. So some examples, not all of them, that'll get you start to thinking about where you could use an NFT in your real life. Will be everywhere, absolutely. What are some of the applications for NFTs that people aren't thinking about yet? Alex, do you want to answer this or you want me to take a crack at it?
Go for it.
Some of the applications that will be used for NFTs that people aren't thinking about yet are identity. And there are some people thinking about this, but right now, just about anywhere you go, this is the way you use to verify your identity. I'm going to show you my driver's license, okay? This is a risky thing that people don't think is risky, right? When you look at my driver's license, because I want to go to a bar and buy a drink, let's say, first of all, you're looking at a document that's susceptible to wear and tear. It could be forged or faked. Kids use these to buy alcohol when they're not real all the time, right? It is revealing all kinds of personal information about me. You see, when you look at my driver's license, you see my birthday. You see my address. You see my full legal name, all of which is not necessary to answer the question, am I old enough to buy a drink? If instead my driver's license was a token on a blockchain, an NFT, not only would it allow you to verify my identity when I sign in to vote in a way that's impossible to forge or fake, I'm never going to lose it. It's never going to be destroyed. And you can use cryptography. The crypto and cryptocurrency comes from cryptography to check information about me without me ever needing to reveal that information to you. I'll post a link in our Discord, but there are a lot of great explanations to show how it's possible to verify something without needing to look at information. One way is with something called a zero knowledge proof. To prove something without directly observing it, it uses mathemagic. Another way that NFTs will be used is to give a tangible form to intangible things like experiences and achievements. If Taylor Swift did NFTs for all of her music, for all of her public appearances, then she could expand her brand in ways that aren't possible with just CDs, streams, concert tickets. For example, if when she was in middle school and did a talent show, Taylor Swift created a token that she gave to everybody in attendance, let's say all 100 people at her little rural school, then that token would be verifiable. Like you could tell the authentic ones from ones that people, just made after the fact. It would give her a relationship like the one I described between me and McDonald's if their receipts were NFTs. And it would create a tangible form of this intangible thing. I attended Taylor Swift's talent show. If I'm a Swiftie, that would be like the ultimate badge of honor. But if a Swiftie tried to prove that now, how would they prove that? I mean, do they have a program from the talent show? Are you just going to take their word for it? If it's a token, it is instantly, effortlessly, errorlessly verifiable. And the same way that receipt could have value, that token would have value. It would be like the ultimate Taylor Swift rookie card. She could give those people who attended her talent show early access, discounts, exclusive content, anything you can imagine can be granted because you can verify that this thing, this intangible achievement is true. The same way words give a tangible form to intangible things like Christmas tree or river. Tokens will give a tangible form to anything intangible that might need to be verified. Lots of stuff like that. We honestly could go on and on. Books have been written about this. We could probably write a book about this. It's one of my favorite subjects to rap on. It's the thing that really made me start to not just understand, but get deeply excited about how like blockchain could make life better.
No, I think that a good way to nutshell it and explain just like how deep you can go on this is just to say, think about how much stuff in your life is digital now, and think about how the natural, advancement of society and technology is often to make more things digital and faster and more convenient. And digital things are so easy to fake, and NFTs are the protection against that.
What a great idea. Did you see this in the comments that domestic violence survivors can get court orders in a QR code or in a token? I mean, Absolutely. That's great. Private encrypted information. Awesome.
One of the idea of protecting sensitive information transmitted digitally this way is really good. One of the things that I know my dad was really intrigued by, and I think actually worked on like as a hobby for a little bit, was using smart contracts to protect people's medical records, so that if you needed to go to the doctor, but you decided, or you at least wanted to maintain control over your record, like, well, how much of this do I really want to share with my eye doctor? Like, does my eye doctor really need to know about about the assault that I suffered that's in my medical record? Like, I really don't want to share that. You should be able to protect that part of your medical record from your dentist, but now that's completely out of your hands.
And also your eye doctor probably does need to know if you have chlamydia. Seems weird, but
the point is that it should at least be a moment where the doctor would need to, like, at least for me, and of course I hesitate to say this, and actually, Evan, this is a subject that I want to bring up today, but I want to put a pin in for later in the week, is DeSci specifically as a narrative, and kind of my issues with it. I wrote a lot of notes over the weekend about DeSci, decentralized science. And I hesitate to say, like, I want more reasons for people to fight with experts when they don't really know. Like,
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So if
fight with experts,
if I had my medical record protected by a smart contract that I needed to allow a doctor to see, and the doctor is like, hey, I need to see this medical record. And I was like, no, you don't. And they're like, well, actually, I do because of X, Y, Z. And like, well, who told you that? Why do you know that? You don't know that. And it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we're just like clunking up and gumming up the works of, doctors being able to efficiently do their work. But also, like, you would want that protection layer from a doctor who actually doesn't need to see that from you, not be able to convince it, that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, we do have HIPAA, but at some point, like, still a lot of it is outside of your control.
We rely on people.
Yeah. So that's just kind of, I think, an interesting talking point about DeSci. Like, I always just see people on Twitter are like, we need DeSci because we need to see like who's funding all this. And I'm like, yeah, but you guys are now in a point where you just disagree with everything that every scientist says to you that doesn't align with your political ideology. So why would we want DeSci? Like, why would DeSci matter? It wouldn't make you care all of a sudden. Like, all you are really looking for, admit it, is a scientist that just happens to validate your inherent bias, not necessarily a scientist who's doing the work properly.
But, I don't know. I would push back on that. I would say, I think decentralized blockchain, not to use too many buzzwords, I think any application where increased transparency and accountability would be helpful, like scientific publishing, academic publishing, news publishing. I think it would be better to have somebody verifying and auditing information on a public blockchain than on a server that your doctor owns or that the news media controls that you can't see.
Yes,
would be my argument for that.
And again, I don't think that layers of checking are bad. I think like extra steps to verify is good. I'm just saying we are kind of like in this point in society where we demonize educated people saying things that we disagree with. COVID really put that on blast. So I don't know that decentralizing it and just adding more layers would necessarily help the people with like an inherent ill-informed disagreement to agree suddenly if the answer didn't change. I think that it would matter if it came out like, oh, wow, this was actually like a biased study that I'm glad we added this new layer of protection because the answer changed, versus, okay, we've added more layers. They still concur with the original finding. It's all part of the deep state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I especially agree, you didn't say this, but I know you think this too, that the way to advance a decentralized science or physical infrastructure or social media or news or you name it is not, I'm a company building this, buy my token. I don't think that's it. That's a way for that company to raise funds, mostly at your expense.
Yes.
And if that's their own product, it creates an incentive for speculation that directly hinders that company's ability to provide utility with that token. Anyway, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do want to come back to that. I think it's going to derail us a lot for today, and it's going to get really technical.
Totally fine with that.
Hold on, wrong page.
Got your magic notebook there, I see.
I do. Yeah, I keep thinking like, okay, this new note-taking app or whatever is really going to change it, but at the end of the day, I need to put like writing on paper or I'm going to lose it.
Honestly, wouldn't it be so cool if we had real magic notebooks so that when you wrote a silly note to yourself, I could see it and I could write it. I mean, we have Discord, but it'd be a lot more fun if I just had a magic notebook that just, the words.
It would. No, it would.
But she said, can you get on that, man?
Yeah. Mike, hook us up, please. If we say that, he'll probably have the feature shipped to the base token store by the end of the day.
Right. Brian Armstrong retweet it.
Can we give a quick shout out to the unofficial partner of the Rise Up Morning Show, the base token store? This dude like gets a comment in the morning about like, hey, Mike, it would be really cool if this feature existed. And he's like in the middle of working at his real job and meetings and all this crap. And he's like, yeah, okay, hold on. And then all of a sudden the feature is shipped like an hour later. It's just he's killing it. I'm so impressed by that project every single day. I think because, like I said, it is legitimately removing a barrier to entry for people who want to do token stuff. Like you might think, hey, I'm starting to get an understanding of this. This sounds interesting. Um, I'll use a meme as an example. Like I really want to try at this, and like I've done my diligence, and I understand that I'm gambling, but like I like to gamble. I've been going to the casino with my friends, once a month for the last 10 years or whatever. Like I get the risk. And now you're staring down the barrel of like, okay, but I want this fringe kind of meme or whatever because like this one's funny to me. Okay, I got to make a wallet. Okay, I got to remember this seed phrase. I've never done that before. That's kind of sketchy. Okay, now I got to fund it. Now I got to send, stuff. Oh, but this means, okay, now back up. I got to go back and make an account on this cryptocurrency exchange because I need to get this particular thing and send it over to this wallet. Like, what a nightmare that process is, right? And we just keep releasing new projects and new protocols and new stuff that basically just like changes the color scheme or the name of the step, but doesn't actually eliminate the step or make the step any easier for you to take. And Mike Machiste here with the base token store is like one of the few, like I could count on two hands, maybe even one hand, the number of projects where I'm like, hey, listen, this person actually removed one of the barriers to entry that still lets me get to my final destination of buying this silly little meme that I'd like to put $10 into. Because they already have a Coinbase account which they can set up with an email and just use a debit card to do everything, and now you can use that exact account right there to participate in DeFi that has been until this completely off limits to you, which is just so cool. We do have a wallet or a wallet. I'm reading. We do have a video that kind of goes through this in a little bit more like specific detail breakdown. I have the whole thing up on screen and I walk us all through it. And I think then one of the next ones Evan and I want to do this week is setting up the smart wallet and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's honestly super easy. I've clicked 3 times, and because I use a Mac device, I think it's prompting me to do a passkey. But I think if you're doing it on other devices, you can be done creating a wallet and using the token store in 3 clicks, and then it's like 3 clicks more to add a token to your cart and check out, which you can do, I believe, with a credit card too, unless I'm wrong. We were doing it the other day, and Alex was doing it with crypto. I haven't tried to do it with credit card yet, but I understand that's one of the features. And Tori was saying, have you guys bought an ad yet? And my answer was no, but I navigated to the site because I'm ready to do it. Are you?
Yeah, I definitely want to. I just wanted to get with you this week and make some banner graphics. I think Kaio's got some stuff that we can use, but just to sign up for something and get some regular reoccurring rums representation there, because that's a really cool feature too.
I mean, I'm glad to have Kaio do it, but I've got some graphics in Canva that are.
Sorry, that's what I'm saying. I think Kyle's already done enough. We could put one together with the stuff that he's given.
Totally. This is great. I love it. And you can. My understanding is you can bid on this and outbid people. But I was thinking like, oh my god, we got to get on there before the prices go.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Right now we're talking 0.0025 ETH is a lot of days in the future, and it looks like moving into August. Wow, a lot of their space is already taken up in August, in September. Wow, I mean, good job, Mike. There's one day in September. There are no, maybe I'm wrong. Hang on. Yeah. Oh, there are a lot of days left. Okay. I was getting nervous. 0.002 ETH. I got to think about what's the conversion. ETH is like $3,000 right now. So we're talking like $3 to $6 to be the sponsor for the day. I think that's great. Micro payments like that. As the store becomes more valuable, that real estate will be more valuable. People can bid on it. People will, buy and sell it to each other. Super cool.
I put a link in the general chat on the Discord. The one of the features I think, Mike, that would be pretty cool, because I would have bought ad space already, like for in the future, is if I could buy the ad space and not send in the graphic yet, but like, and I hear the problems with this as I'm saying it out loud. But like if I was concerned that, too many of the days are going to get bought up and I wanted to get in there, but I didn't have visual assets prepared yet, that perhaps I could buy the ad and then upload the art, like within 48 hours or something. And if I don't do that, then my space is forfeit or something like that. Just because I would have bought it the second it came available, and then sat down and figured out the graphics, over the next couple of days. But I could see that being a problem, especially given, the need to like make sure that the graphic that they want to post is like got enough time to, make sure it's not like super malicious.
Like if something changed, you'd want to be able to resubmit it. I think the ads are on chain, and so like that would be a.
Oh yeah, I guess you could just Is that a thing, Mike, that I can like upload with like just a placeholder piece of art and then update it later?
Yeah, okay, that would be good too. Yeah,
because that would work. But then of course, like it's gotta get that. Don't want to give away your ad campaign before it goes live. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that, but yeah, if something in there was like a spoiler announcement that I wanted to make sure I had the day for, but I didn't want to put out into the ether. Okay, gotcha. Very cool.
Oh, I see. I help Cool Beans do it. What a guy. Okay, so we've got two quick questions here. One of them from Angel is, I have a question. Can old crypto Coinbase wallets be linked to a smart wallet? And if so, how? I do believe so. I definitely know you can add your Coinbase wallet, your MetaMask wallet, your Phantom wallet, anything to Coinbase wallets now. I actually don't understand the integration though, Alex, between Coinbase wallet and smart wallet. Can you shed light on that?
A little bit, although I would defer to Mike for the like real good answer for this one.
Yeah,
what I do know is the way that the dashboard is set up, you can integrate old wallets that you have. The Coinbase wallet and the smart wallet are different. That is one pain point that I wish like had a little bit better terminology around it, just because it sounds a little bit confusing. I mix it up. But yeah, the new smart wallet essentially is like, you going in and making a new your ID, your .cb ID, the same way that like you could use an unstoppable domain or an ENS domain, your .eth name or your .nft name or something like that. And you can put all of them in the same place. So you could, send and receive using the smart wallet dashboard out of your old Coinbase wallet. It's not a phenomenal explanation. Mike, I would say, would probably have a better one when he's not limited to TikTok comments. Mike, we could bring you up at some point if you can't do it today, later in the week maybe, and you could give a better explanation of it. But
yeah, and unless I'm understanding correctly, I think the other thing to do would be you could create a smart wallet and upload that to your Coinbase wallet. I don't know that it goes the other way. I think smart wallet is like its own separate thing, and it's really meant to be the hands-off, user-friendly, have your mom sign up for a smart wallet. Though Coinbase wallet is pretty user-friendly, I would say. They're just killing it. They're absolutely top of the game. So Alex, do you think we could do a little wrap up and get some final questions, good jokes, words of wisdom, and then take our dog and pony show on the road? Because I'm looking at the time, and I'm just about. We want to save some goodness for tomorrow.
I was gonna say we can put a pin in this for later. Still got 3 more shows this week.
Still got 3 more shows this week. There's plenty of time, and I really appreciate everybody for chiming in with your feedback. I saw somebody say, "Oh, we should do a Friday show instead of the newsletter. Newsletter twice a month would be fine." Somebody said, "I'll sign up and give you feedback." I am going to send a newsletter later today that you will get some opportunity to give feedback on.
Sweet.
Angel, you said, I wish someone can put out a video about how to connect. I am going to put some links in the Discord. The guy's name is escaping me, Alex, but he's been around for years doing those great tutorials. Thank you so very much. What's his, the guy who always wears the hat, I think he's English. And all his thumbnails are just him. What's his name? Crypto. He did one on the smart wallet and I think on the Coinbase wallet. I got to look up this guy. His tutorials are I don't know why this guy isn't everybody's favorite celebrity in the crypto space. But he's got one, Angel, and I'll put it in the Discord. Let me see, what the hell? Who the heck is it?
Yeah, I was going to say, Evan, another good way to think about maybe spacing out editions of the newsletter would just be, we can fill in the gap in the meantime with a Discord post, an announcement update that just has a few like tidbits and stuff from the week that doesn't need to be a full newsletter, and then kind of, pull the juiciest pieces from 2 weeks into a newsletter instead of having it be weekly. And then the Discord can be the place where you can go get like, the gap fill for the off weeks.
I like that too. Angel, I figured it out. It's Money ZG. You remember that guy, Alex? Money ZG? If you saw the thumbnail, listen, I'm going to show you one of his thumbnails because I honestly, if people were to ask me like, who are some of the most underrated accounts in crypto, I forget this guy. He's so under the radar, but he's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
This guy?
Yep.
I love this guy. And he's got a video I'm going to post, Coinbase Smart Wallet tutorial and setup and Coinbase Wallet app. But this one's old. This one's new. That would be someone, Alex. I don't think he's on TikTok. I would love to connect with that guy and just thank him for all the value he has contributed, but also get him on the show. That's a guy who professionally explains this stuff super well. And his videos are just crisp, clean, beautiful. So I'm going to put a pin in that one. The name again is Money ZG Rick. Check the link in the general chat that I'm sending right now. It's one of his videos about a Coinbase smart wallet tutorial. And he's got stuff. His library is what I wish our library could be, honestly. But he's got about 5 years ahead of us making YouTube specific tutorial content. So simple, so clean, so good.
For those looking for the link, it's in the general chat right now.
That's right. And if you need the general chat link, go to the riseupmorningshow.com. That's where all of our links are. Discord's there, YouTube's there, newsletter's there, classes, coaching, all of it's there. Having a class this Friday for how to detect scams and avoid them. But all the good stuff is in the Discord. You don't have to pay us a darn thing to come hang out there. Ask your question, post your link, and please do, if you're ever worried about something, come there and post it. No one's going to pick on you for asking a question. Yeah,
that was a good one that someone brought up the other day. Like, is this an appropriate place to share a link that I'm concerned about? I would say it's not an appropriate place. It should be a required place. I have personally seen people avoid getting scammed because they just took a few seconds before they sent something to go in the general chat of a Discord group full of Web3 people and say, hey guys, is this fishy? Is this too good to be true? Is this, should I give this a shot? Am I looking at the right thing? Whatever. Just throw it in there and get some feedback, please. Because it might be totally legit. And then wouldn't you feel better if 100 people looked at it and were like, oh yeah, okay. Or someone sees and be like, hey, no, 100%. See this? That's a scam or whatever it is. So that's the best way to use the group for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, if you're looking for those videos, jump in the general chat of the Discord. It's there. The creator's name is Money ZG. Money Z-G, as in Gary, as in Gensler, as in go take a hike, pal. And that's maybe my final note. My good joke word of wisdom would be that a lot of people ask us, hey, can I get a coaching with you? Do you do private coaching? Do you do classes? The answer is yes, but most of the questions people have can be solved, answered, addressed by jumping in the Discord and posting them in general chat.
The answer is yes. That is how we make a living.
Yeah, don't let us give away revenue. Like, you can get a lot more value. Like, we can be real close, hold your hand, do all that stuff. It's valuable. It's worth it. But
Evan and I are terrible salespeople, and we'll tell you that you can get it for free. So
Christina's in the background like, why? Somewhere Kimberly's watching like, no. Yeah. So, support us that way because it is extremely valuable. But the first course of action should always be, if you want to learn this stuff, the best way to accelerate your learning journey is to get in a community of people. You're already doing it. You're here on the Rise Up Morning Show. You're telling a better story. You're expecting more from your TikTok influencer crowd. But the Discord is a way to extend that. The show lives there 24/7. And if you want access to courses and coaching, getting a membership in the Discord, we have free trials for that. That takes the cost of those things like to the floor, okay? To join a live seminar that's 2 hours with Q&A and all that stuff is $50. which I think is a tremendous value. But if you're like a member of the Discord, you can get that for $20. And if you're somebody who like wants to take classes with us, wants to get coaching from us, like you should do that. That would be the best way. But first, try it before you buy it. Come hang out. My commercial is done. That's my final thought. Get in the community. We want to be your community. That's millennials. We're a community. You know, but help yourself out. Do yourself a favor. Everything good is there.
Nick, I'm going to put the place where you can get the invite right here, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Right here, yeah. Tap my face, tap his face. One, because you like us, but two, because the link in our bio will have all the juiciness, or you can just visit the riseupmorningshow.com.
Right there. The invite is on that Beacons page.
Final thought, good joke, word of wisdom to you?
Nope, I'm good. I've got some stuff to record. I've got lots of notes to decipher. Oh, I do have a good thought or a question, a request from all of you. I don't need answers right now, but just think about it. If you are connected to any, and I mean literally any other TikTok creator that you know personally, that has a platform, that has an audience, that would be interested in going live with us, let me know, because one of the things I'm trying to do is make a way more concerted effort to break out of the echo chamber, and the best way to do that is to be a guest on someone's live in a completely different niche. So I'm saying like an artist or someone who talks about real estate, literally just anything else. If you have anyone that you know, anyone that you want to see, Tiny Assets, IO, great. Let me bring you here. Coach Ty is 100% not out of the echo chamber. He is as deep in the echo chamber as it gets.
Yeah, but could you imagine getting to have, I would rather go to his platform and have a conversation than bring him to our platform, if I'm being frank.
Yeah.
But I would have that conversation all day.
Yeah.
I would relish the chance to have that conversation.
Let me just make sure I don't lose this one.
Yeah, Dream List, Coach Ty, Pablo Heyman, don't know where he went. Would love to talk to that guy. Anybody, everybody, you know, but
so,
definitely non-crypto people too.
BH, Ragsy is an artist. She's also very deep in Web3 and would not be out of the echo chamber. And she's also a good friend of mine.
Yeah, we love her.
So I talk to her all the time. I mean like someone who's a cooking channel. Like, hey, I have a friend who's a chef that literally just makes TikToks about cooking. Like, that's the person that I want to go talk to, because their audience is not on TikTok to learn about crypto. And I hear it before I say it. One of those things again that like, hey, I've got some crypto people that want to go live with you. Like, if that was me, the chef, I'd be like, dude, hard pass. So I would appreciate, like, you know, the vouch. And it's not to sell anything. It's just they don't need to go live regularly. They don't even need to go live at all. Just like somebody with an audience that like we could talk to, just about like how to expand out, even just to get practice saying something like, hey, I want to come on your show and talk about this thing that is notoriously sleazy. And I need some brutally honest feedback about like, how sleazy does this sound? How can we clean this image up? What's the part of it that makes it sleazy? What's the piece of it that keeps you out of it? All that kind of stuff. And that's fine. You know, I know a lot of us are just here to do Web3 stuff, and that's totally fine. But if you happen to come across anyone in the future, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that Evan and I are trying to break out of this echo chamber, this niche. And
I want to break free.
Thank you. Send them that clip and tell them that we just need to talk to people who don't like this stuff or have no idea what it is, because no one is making that effort, and it's upsetting.
Yeah, and not like a knock knock knock, we'd like to share the good word with you kind of way, but like honestly, we do this for a living. We realize that it's a little weird, and we need practice to make sure that we are not misleading people, confusing people, and to combat most people on TikTok talking about this, most people on Twitter, you name it. The way they're talking about this is not helpful. We really care about people, and we really care about helping you say normies or whatever. I always say everyday people. I used to say regular people, but somebody told me, Evan, nobody wants to be thought of as a regular person. So I have since shifted to say everyday people like us, like me. So they're like, don't worry, guys, it's okay.
Yeah, I've tried to abandon all of those terms because I hate it. I hate the word normie. I hate it so much.
Just people, man. It's just people using cool stuff to do life better. That's it. That's it. Yeah, Tori, and also your brother. If you are in a conversation with your brother, we'll come in and gently spam the chat.
No, I mean it's way more valuable to talk to a skeptic than that's how you learn. That's how you.
The other day too, we'd love to come do this IRL. Rick has been really enthusiastic and passionate about like let's do it in Atlanta, and I think that would be a fantastic idea to have like Rums live. But Alex and I were saying over the weekend, like, wouldn't it be great when we have a weekend that lines up to do, some college lectures, or just go with one of those tables that says "Change my mind," and then, like you say, the best way to start a conversation with some hot-headed, ready to debate you person when they say crypto is a scam is to go, yeah, it is. I agree. We love talking to people like that because honestly, that's kind of how we feel too. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for trusting us. And join us again tomorrow. We're going to be back 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. UTC. I'll say it one more time for people who need to hear it. The link to find all the other resources, newsletter, YouTube, Discord is theriseupmorningshow.com. Go there, get in the Discord, and then say hi in the general chat just so we can keep tabs on each other. We'd love to see you there. We can't wait to answer more of your questions. Remember, my friends, you are telling a story with everything you say. Don't say everything you choose to pay attention to or ignore, and it is up to all of us. We can all do our part to tell a better story. So thank you for helping us tell a better story here. Until next time, my friends, rise up.